All right, so in today's video, I want to go over something that's super important, something that I get asked about a lot directly and also indirectly, and it's calculating your return on your investment from doing content and advertising. I know it can be a little bit of a gray space. Some people say it's hard to understand these things, and to be honest, it doesn't have to be complicated. So I'm going to go over exactly, how you calculate your ROI to see if, doing content and advertising is even worth it for your business, and just so that you can really get a good grasp of everything that goes into the content, the advertising, and how we actually make it work in terms of the financial side for your business. So the first thing that I kind of want to go over is the core numbers. So ASP stands for average sale price. So for example, if you sell something that's, $3,000 on average, then that would be your average sales price. Your LTV is different. Your LTV, for you guys that don't know, might not know, it's your lifetime value of a customer. This is more important if you sell some sort of recurring thing. A lot of one-time businesses or project-based businesses, this will be your number, your average sales price that we need to take into consideration. And if you sell more of a recurring service, the LTV is the number that we need to take into consideration in terms of what we use to calculate your ROI. The reason these numbers are important and different, and I'll give an example, but the reason they're important is so that we can calculate what our return is going to be on our ads and to see if it's even worth it, and to then calculate once we do, run a campaign, how we can scale that up and get more clients, make more money. In this example, two different businesses would be a construction business where your average sales price for a job might be anywhere from 4, 5, 10,000, 2,000, whatever that number is, where you're not consistently doing something for someone on a month by month, week by week, or quarterly basis. It's more of a project basis type of job. Your LTV is more important if you have some sort of service. Maybe you own some sort of medical, wellness, or professional service like accounting, bookkeeping, maybe some sort of law practice, something like that, where you charge based on a monthly basis or on a subscription basis, and people work with you for an extended period of time. Now, the other numbers that we need to understand here, besides these, are your margin. So this is going to be your margin on these jobs. Your close rate. So it means, out of however many 10 calls, for example, then that turns into, 3 clients. You need to understand what this percentage is for you. And then the other two, CPL and CPA, are cost per lead and cost per acquisition. These are really important numbers as well. Mainly the most important number here is your cost per acquisition, because, if you really think about it, if your cost to get a lead is, say, $500, which might be comparatively high to other businesses or other industries or other people in the same industry as you, if your cost per lead is 500, but you close one of every 2 leads because you have a very hyper-specific marketing and your average sales price. So let's paint this picture. Let's say your CPL is 500 and you close 1 out of 2 of these leads. So now your CPA, cost per acquisition, so how much it costs you to acquire a customer, is 1,000. Right? If your service is 5,000, maybe even 10,000, or whatever amount, you're looking at a 10x return on your ad spend. That's why it's also important to take into account your margins, because it's also going to be important to see the profitability of the ads for you specifically. Your cost per lead really is kind of like an indicator, but it doesn't tell the full story. You get a much better picture of how your advertising is performing when you have a really clear understanding of your cost per acquisition. This is really the most important number here, your cost per acquisition. Let's talk about your cost per lead. Your cost per lead, if you've never run some sort of ad campaign, the best way to find this out is to either ask someone that you know in your same business or same industry that does currently run ads, and you can ask them. This will give you a much better picture, kind of like what you should expect for cost per lead. Also take into account, not everyone is great at running ads. Some people are amazing at running ads. there's more people on this side rather than the people that are great. But if you have access to someone directly who is running ads and you know they're doing it successfully, I would definitely give them an ask. Say, hey, you know what? I'm curious about what your cost per lead is, what your cost to acquire customers. That'll give you really accurate data. If you don't have that available to you, the next thing you can do is you can go ahead and ask ChatGPT or another AI to give you a range of what you should expect. There are also websites that can give you some data based on your industry, but I would shy away from that just because a lot of those websites can give you a really inaccurate picture. And also, it really depends on the kind of service you're offering in your ads and everything like that. I would say first, go ahead and ask someone you know that's in your industry what their cost to acquire a customer is and what their cost per lead is. And also look at AI and ask it to give you a range. It'll never be able to give you a specific number, like say, for example, $30 cost per lead, but it could give you a range, like maybe 20 on the great end and 80 on the poor end. And then with those numbers, and you can even get like an average of those, with that, you can then go ahead and plug those numbers into the ROI calculator I'm going to show you later here, and then get a good picture to see if it's something that even makes sense and like a goal, a target. Again, I want to emphasize that your cost to acquire customer is going to be much more important than your actual cost per lead. So just always take that into account whenever you're doing your research on your ads. How do you find winning ads? This is a great question. I've actually created a document and a YouTube video going over exactly that. And I've even showed examples here of some of my own ads and some of my clients' ads that we've done that have been winners for them, where they've been able to cut down their cost per lead and ultimately get more of their clients for cheaper. And so I've created this for you right here. I'll be adding this document right here in the description as well as the video, but you can see this right here and you can go through this document where I show you exactly the numbers and everything like that. This document is going to be updating as well because I have another case study from a more recent client who is in professional services. So I'll be including that in here as well. Now, the other thing you can do is you can go to what's called the Meta Ads library, and I'm going to show that to you right now. So the Meta Ads library, for those of you that may not be aware, you can find all of the ads that all of the people are currently running across Meta. So there are some people can turn this off, so you might not be able to see every single person's ad, but most people do keep this setting on where it's discoverable in the Meta Ads libraries. And this is free and this is publicly available for you to kind of search. And I'm kind of going to show you how to use this for your business so that you can really find the best ads that are already working for people. Let's say you own an accounting business. So you can do accounting. And you want to make sure that it's on United States in all ads. Now there's a ton of ads here, right? A lot of you might make the mistake of going here and saying, okay, this is cool, like I can see all these ads, but you have to take another thing into account. These ads were launched, and it'll show this to you in chronological order, starting from the latest to the oldest. These ads right here were launched September 2025. Basically what this means is that these ads right here are not proven. But right now I'm going to show you how you can, get a better gauge and how you can find ads that are proven. So as you can see here, the active status is these are on. So these are ads that are currently on for these people. If you go here to where it says filters and you change this to date right here, instead of September 17th, which is today's date, you can go back 3 months or more, which is what I would recommend. So I'd go back, start with like 3 or 4 months, go to the beginning of the month, and now you'll see here that your active status is they're active, and what this does is it basically shows us which ads have been on for the past 3 months and longer. This is going to give you a much better picture of which ads have actually been working. The reason is if somebody is putting money into their advertising and it's working, then they tend to keep that on. I mean, it only logically makes sense. If an ad is working for you, I mean, you keep it on if it's making you more money than you're spending on it, right? And the opposite is also true. If your ad doesn't work and if you're not making any money, you're going to turn it off because you're spending money on that. That's why we don't want to look at the latest ads. We want to look at ads that have been running for at least 3 months, ideally even 6 months to a year straight. those ads are killers. So you can see here, a lot of these, you might have to do some digging because there are people who advertise to accountants, but some of these are actual accountants advertising their service. As an example, you can do the same for roofing, but just also take into account, like I just said, some of these people are advertising to roofers and some of these are roofers. So you can see here, another kind of hack that you can use is you can go to ChatGPT and ask it, give me the keywords that I would need to search for my business, and then use those keywords here to find those specific ads for you. So here you can see this ad. You can even click on the actual link it takes them to. You can see the image, and with a little bit of creativity, you can download them as well. As you can see here, this ad has been running. Oh, sorry. I forgot here that the status, that the impressions by date resets. So let's go back here and apply the filters. So again, here you can see what those exact ads that have been working for these people look like. And you can see here, started running May 31st, 2025, and they're active, which means that somebody has been spending money on this ad for many months now. And, no one in their right mind would continue to spend money on an advertising that's not working. So this right here is a really cool hack that you can use to get a good idea of what these ads look like. And this is exactly what we do in our process as well, to make sure that we're not starting you off from scratch. We're starting you off from a base of something that already works for someone else. Now, there's a lot of things that go into, actually creating this ad, like the hooks, the copy in the ad, the offer you're presenting in your advertising, your proof of concept, which can even go as far as like the content you post. And so that is covered in this document right here that I've added in the description of this video. Now, how do we actually calculate our expected ROI? Luckily, I've created a tool that you can use, which is right here. There's an ROI calculator where you can put your numbers that either you've got from the past, so from past campaigns, or you can add numbers here that you've calculated before in the previous steps, and you can, calculate your return, your expected return. So in this section right here is where you would put your average service price or your LTV of a customer. If you sell a monthly service for, say, $500 a month, and your average customer stays for 6 months, then what you would insert here is 6,000. If we are saying your average cost per lead for your business is, let's say, $25, or let's make it even, worse, $30, and you plan on spending $2,000 per month, right? Your booking rate is what percentage of leads book a call with you that come through, because not all of them are going to be qualified. That's just part of life. That's a part of business. I'm sure you already know. Your show rate is what percentage of these people that book a call with you actually show up. And then your close rate is what percentage of people that show up close. So it's pretty simple to understand. You click this button here, and you can actually see exactly here. It breaks it down. Budget, your estimated number of leads, your estimated number of bookings or calls, your estimated number of showed appointments, and your estimated number of closes. You can see here the revenue from the ads is this. You subtract the ad spend, and then you can see your return on your investment, which in this case is 6.8 times return. So this will give you a pretty good understanding, and you can play around with these numbers, like I was saying. If you expect, or if you know that your cost per lead is going to be lower or higher, so you can do 40, and you can recalculate that and say, hey, you know what? Oops, that says 39, but if we say 40, then you can see what your return on your investment would be. You can also play around with the rest of these. So say your budget was 5,000 from ads. Right. Now, aside from just running the ads and calculating all of this, you also need to understand, this is something that I've started to realize, is that a lot of businesses aren't very used to cold traffic. And there's a couple of differences between cold traffic and warm traffic. First, I'm going to kind of explain what these terms are. Warm traffic would be referrals, people that already know you, that sort of thing, people that you've already been in communication with. The main concept here is that they kind of already know you. They already maybe watch your content. They've already consumed some of your videos. They already know you in person, etc. They're coming from a referral. And a cold traffic is someone who doesn't know you, someone who's just now finding out about you. And when we run ads, we're running ads to cold traffic. And it's super important to understand some of the best practices when it comes to running ads to cold traffic. The first is speed to lead. This is probably the biggest killer I've seen, where people are replying to their leads that they're getting from cold traffic in 2, 3, 4, 6 hours. This is one of the worst things you could do. If you really think about it, someone that's a cold lead, they came across your ad, they were interested, they filled out a form, or they put in their information, their email, whatever that may be, and they just went on with their day. They're not thinking about that or your business throughout the day. So after 6 hours, you'll find that a lot of people, if you don't reply to them quickly, a lot of people will just forget they even filled it out. So that's why speed to lead is super important. Now, nurture sequence is how do you kind of get these people up to speed with who you are, what you do, what service you provide, your proof, your testimonials, that sort of thing. Because at the end of the day, building up trust with people that don't know you quickly is one of the most important things when it comes to turning this cold traffic that we get from ads to customers or clients of yours. Because at the end of the day, people are more skeptical, which I don't have any judgment towards people that are skeptical. I think this is just something that is natural, especially when you're coming across a business for the first time. So the way we combat that is by first, speed to lead. So making sure that we're getting in contact with these people within 5 minutes ideally. And the next thing is having content on your page. A lot of the natural process of a lot of these leads that come in is they're going to fill out a form, they're going to check out your ad, and they're going to go to your page. They're going to go to your page to check out more information about you. That's why it's super important to not just have the ads, but also have the content that people can sort of browse. Now, the other part of the nurture sequence is once people book a call, what are you sending them? What kind of resources are you sending them? What I've seen is a lot of people have very basic calendar bookings, very basic scheduling options. They can choose a time to have a consult or a call, and the only messages you're sending them are reminders. This does nothing. This doesn't help you at all. This doesn't build trust with people. It doesn't show who you are, what you guys do, what kind of services you provide, your price point, all of that stuff. That information before the call is what's really going to warm people up. Ideally, you want people to come into a call with a ton of knowledge, so much information and context about your business that it's really just a question of, is this right for me? And how can we make it work? The next steps when it comes to you've launched your ads, you've got things set up in terms of like a pre-call sequence, and you're replying to your leads is how do you go ahead and improve these ads? Your first time running ads, probably not going to be, this crazy amazing thing that's going to save your business. And so a lot of it is also testing and scaling. You need to really be able to track your numbers daily. You need to track your spend, how many people are booking calls or consultations, how many calls. You need to be tracking this sort of data here to be able to make a good decision about what are the next steps. When you don't track these numbers, it makes it hard for you to really tell if this is working or not. The next thing you want to do is once you've tested out certain ads, certain videos, you want to scale the winners. What this means is if you're spending, let's say $50 per day on an ad that is like really making you a lot of money, you want to then go ahead, turn off the other ads, so cut the other ones, and then just spend more on this one. Because if this one's giving you a lot of booked calls, the people that are qualified are coming from this specific ad, you want to, hey, why don't we just double this so we can double our numbers and then make even more? Now, a lot of this is kind of an oversimplification because I didn't want to make this too complex for you to understand. But a lot of these resources you'll be able to find in the description of this video. And yeah, if you have any other questions about any of this or how this works, or if you want a more in-depth video with the more granular steps of setting everything up, that sort of thing, then feel free to shoot me a message on my Instagram. I've got the Instagram as the first link in the description. And yeah, go ahead, shoot me a message. And if you found this useful, like and subscribe.